the God of, no, the God of the goodness. Invoke goodness. Invoke God. I want God here helping. Today, I thought it might be helpful to sort of give a overview of how I get unstuck when I'm stuck. When I get stuck, I know it's feelings that are getting me stuck. I don't always know what the feelings are, but pretty much anytime I'm stuck, it's about feelings. How does one figure out what they're feeling? So the first thing to know is your feelings are not in your head. That's not where feelings live. Feelings live kind of below your brain. They often, you experience them in your throat and in your heart and in your gut, and sometimes in tense shoulders, sometimes on the outside of your head, like you can feel lots of tension, but they're not mental, they're activities of the limbic brain. And that's not where thinking happens, and that's not where language happens. So feelings happen in your body. And so when I'm super stuck, I actually lie down on the bed or the floor in sort of on my back in sort of a spread eagle, very vulnerable position. And I breathe a little bit, because one of the ways that we stop feelings from happening is by holding our breath, which is part of the fight or flight or freeze response. Is we stop breathing because we're scared. And maybe all we're scared of is the feelings inside that we haven't been able to process yet. So you don't have to lie down on the floor. Maybe you just sit quietly. The idea is to bring your awareness from your thinking brain in the front down into your body, which is where feelings actually are experienced. And if you've been trying to get away from your feelings for a long time, you may notice that it's really hard to go from thinking incessantly to actually having the feelings in your body. But my deep experience, both with myself and with clients, is that as they begin to bring their awareness down into their bodies, they start to feel what the actual feelings are. So the first step is to get quiet. It's almost like a meditative technique, mindfulness and knowing what's going on in your body. But it's not trying to get a blank slate. It's just trying to keep moving your consciousness, your awareness, your attention down into your body, and see where you notice sensation. And you may notice it in your throat, a tightening of the throat. You may notice it in your shoulders, that you're kind of hunched up. And the idea is not to necessarily get rid of that. In fact, just really notice if you're really tight somewhere. Notice the tightness and just be with it. If what you're feeling is fear, it's often either a general tightening of your body against the fear, or it's like a watery, scary, I'm out of control kind of feeling in your gut. Those are all words. You focus on the feelings first. But the more you can just let yourself have that feeling, have it, and gently ask the question, where does this feeling come from? What is this feeling trying to tell me? And with lots of clients who are not well versed in noticing and identifying their feelings, I'll make it really simple. I'll ask them, do you feel glad? Do you feel sad? Do you feel mad? Do you feel scared? Or do you feel ashamed, guilty? The main idea is to go from feeling kind of numb in your body to feeling where the activation is, feeling where there's energy or tightness or blocking, and to let that be there and notice it. And then begin to put a label on it. So that connects the limbic brain, which is the raw feelings, with the cognitive brain, which can think about that. And you don't want to get caught up in the cognitive, but it is really helpful. I found it so helpful to identify, what is this feeling? What is it trying to tell me? And if you haven't already done a lot of insight work, to ask the question, perhaps, what's the earliest time in my life I can remember feeling this feeling? And not uncommonly, a scene from one's past will come. And it might only be 10 years ago or 2 years ago, and that's fine. Feelings tend to kind of chain back. So, because as kids, we develop patterns to adapt as best we can to our situation. And in adapting, it sets up patterns in our body, musculature and tightening and ways of managing those feelings, which as a kid are too overwhelming to feel unless they have a wonderful and secure attachment with a caregiver who can be present and notice their feelings and not be undone by them and not feel responsible for them necessarily, but just to be present with the kids so that they can just have their feelings and discharge them and go on with their life, which is so normal for kids. If you've been around kids, it's like they just kind of, something happens, they have a big feeling, and very quickly they move on. And it's more complicated with adults because we have these chains of feelings, things that happened very early and are very deep, and then it got reinforced in school or it got reinforced in an early relationship. They get reinforced. And so sometimes that's the first place that you can remember is a place to notice and then do some exploring. What was that like for me? What did I start to believe about myself as a result of that experience? And to just be gentle and compassionate and accepting. And if nothing comes, just having the bodily sensation is great, because you're starting to get from just spinning thoughts or a kind of a globalized depression into the actual sort of granular details of your experience that is calling for attention, for deep attention, for loving attention, like you may never have had. And so getting clear about that, what is that feeling, and just letting yourself feel it as far as it will go, as far as you have the courage to take it, or as far as your body wisdom tells you you should take it, because we don't want to re-traumatize ourselves. So you listen to your body wisdom. And if it says that's enough, you say, oh, great, thanks. Thanks for that bit of deeper awareness and knowing that my feelings are in my body. And then you can say, so what is the narrative that I have wrapped around that feeling in my body? What is the story? What's the story, not in it being a lie, but in it being something that happened that I had to make some kind of sense out of. that I had to deal with what was going on so that I wouldn't be so terrified. So the story might be something like, I can't trust myself. Or the story might be, I'm never enough. Or the story might be, it's everybody else's fault. And why are they doing this? And that's fine. All of that material is really important to be able to understand about yourself and what your reactions are. And if tears come, great. And if you find yourself really angry and there are words that come, or you need to expel some of that energy, there's lots of ways, safe ways of doing that. You can go for a run. You can make a fist and just feel it. You can hit pillows. Good therapists know that sometimes the body really needs to express it. And if they've done their own work, it's not scary to them. If they haven't, they'll want to get you back in your head doing cognitive work. And sometimes that's fine and that's appropriate. And sometimes it's then reinforcing a narrative. Your feelings are too much. They're too much for the person that's with you, rather than, oh, this is a feeling that came to pass in the biblical terms. It came to pass. That's what feelings do. They come, they inform, and then if we embrace them, express them as much as we need to in the moment, and then get the message, get the narrative, and start to question the narrative. So then for people who have an active faith in a higher power, whatever that might be, depending on what tradition you come out of, to see as much as you can what might be true about the narrative and not true about the narrative. That I'm this, or I'm that, or the world is this, or the world is that. It's a scary place to be, where there's no help, or I'm not valuable. To look at that narrative and say, I don't think that's the narrative I want to live by. I want to live by a different narrative. I want to live creatively and powerfully. And I want to be on a growth path, not in a stuck place. And then to just take a few minutes to ask for whatever your version of blessing is and healing from that which is greater than you. Help me change this narrative. Help me see the truth. I'm willing to take my part. I just want to be of service. Help me heal this piece, or take me deeper when it's time, so that I can really deeply understand what this gift is of getting stuck, which means stop. When we're stuck, it's a signal, stop, get clear. Don't just try to power your way through it or distract yourself away from it. Go ahead and have it. And maybe you can't do it right in the moment you're at work, or you're tending children, or you're, on the street. But you can notice and identify and say, I'm listening to my body. I'm listening to my deep experience. I'm honoring that, and I will pick it up later. And then what do? You may not have a lot of energy after that. Just do the next right thing. That's all we're called to do. Just do the next right thing. That might mean going ahead and getting back to the project that brought up the feelings. It might mean going in and sitting down with your spouse or a close friend and saying, I just need you to witness this. I just got in touch with this stuff, and I just need somebody to know about it and hold it with me. Or it might mean you think, I kind of see how I have created a situation where this is all getting repeated and I need to make some changes. And so you might say to your boss, I know I said I'd come in on Saturday. I can only come in for 2 hours. If I don't honor this part of myself, I'm not being true, and I'll resent it, and my work will suffer. And I know you don't want my work to suffer. So I got 2 hours for you on Saturday, and that's all. I got to take care of myself, or I'm going to not be in good shape, physically, mentally, emotionally. Who knows? Your boss may go, wow, great. I'm glad you know that. I wouldn't want you working when you resented it. And thanks for telling me. And I'll make sure I prioritize what I need you to deal with on Saturday. That's the kind of world you want to create for yourself, perhaps. And so you can hold that. But whatever, you do the next right thing. And sometimes that's just taking it really easy on yourself. Sometimes it's taking a shower. One wonderful way to change one's state, if you really need to get back to something that I've employed and is also a great health benefit, is to take a cold shower, a really, really cold shower. I hope this is helpful. We all get stuck at times. Sometimes we get stuck a lot. And that just means we're kind of ready to start processing more material. Godspeed on your way.